to you. My name is Lilla, and I'm the director here in the Office of Educator Effectiveness and Leadership Development. Supporting the webinar today will be Dr. Vicki Trofler, who is our PADEP coordinator, as well as our team leader for effectiveness. We have Rodney Evans, who's supporting the webinar today, who helps us out with student growth goals and student learning objectives. And then we also have Faye Colley, who's helped us get organized.
Chisholm Davis.
And primarily, Faye supports us with our professional learning and our online content. Also in the room, we have Kim Howard, Julie Hartwell, and Regina Thurman, who are also a part of our team, and we're so glad to have them with us today. We thank you for being here, and we'll go ahead and get started. We want to protect your time. The Office of Educator Effectiveness has 3 functions that run through our work in effectiveness and leadership. The first is effectiveness systems design. The teacher and principal effectiveness models and data systems provide ways for districts and preparation providers to measure growth, create professional learning, and monitor continuous improvement. These systems are focused on growing our educators and leaders so they can support students to meet the profile of the graduate. The second bucket of office in our work is direct support. We know our early career educators and new principals need structured induction programs and mentoring. Our office partners with SARA to provide that for teachers and school support staff, and our office also facilitates the principal induction program. They were here today, and on-site coaching for all first-year principals.
Ella Gerald
the third bucket of our work is capacity building. Our instructional leadership development cohorts serve the continuum of educators from teacher leaders to district leaders to build their capacity to improve instruction in their local context. Those cohorts are focused on modeling equitable access to effective instruction, personalization, and collective leadership. We invite you to check out our work on social media using hashtag SCTS rubric on Twitter.
Unknown participant is now joining.
Or at PIP Leaders on Twitter. You can also check out our website at ed.sc.gov/educators and then click on either effectiveness or school and district leaders. And we thank everyone who's joining by phone today. If you can just remember when you join in, if you can also hit mute as you join so that we can
now joining
information. To look at our agenda today, here's an outline of our time together. We will record this, and so we ask you to be on mute if at all possible by clicking the microphone icon and making sure there's a slash through it. And we will post this on our website with slides and video later. We'll start with the reasons for the proposed changes. We'll move on to a walkthrough of those changes, and then we'll preview each of the evaluation models and conclude with next steps. We so appreciate you making time to be here today. ADEPT is the overall umbrella and the name in South Carolina Education Code for the system of assisting, developing, and evaluating professional teaching. ADEPT for 2006 is the current process for support professionals. The system is portfolio-based, and a version of it has been in place since 2006. You may hear evaluations for counselors, librarians, and speech-language professionals referred to as ADEPT for the special areas. As context, national standards for librarians, counselors, and speech-language professionals have changed since 2006, as has teacher evaluation in South Carolina and across the nation. We've heard from advocates for counselors, librarians, and speech-language professionals that change is needed in your evaluation models. But we also want to make sure that South Carolina districts, schools, and evaluators have lived through and learned from the beginning of the implementation of the new teacher evaluation system before addressing changes to evaluations for support professionals. To give you an idea of the timeline, we started in fall of 2018 with gathering survey feedback from counselors, librarians, speech-language professionals, evaluators, principals, and districts. From there, we reached out specifically to advocacy groups, listservs, HR leaders, and a series of advisory groups. This winter, we began drafting new guidelines and are seeking feedback from you about their content. First, make sure you're
exiting.
And next, to hear what you'd like to see that's different from our current draft. After this round of feedback, we intend to seek approval for the guidelines from the State Board of Education in April 2020, with training this summer and the option for districts to pilot the instrument in 2021. Full implementation of the instrument will happen in 2021-2022. Feedback from over 300 librarians, counselors, speech-language professionals, and administrators were part of a survey that we administered last year. The primary feedback was, it's been a long time since 2006, and a change is needed. The rest of the feedback focused around these 4 primary areas. First, growth. Desiring a shift from evaluation that's just a checklist to a professional growth and development system that provides meaningful feedback. Next, that administrative evaluators have to have knowledge and understanding of your unique roles. It's very, very different to be a counselor in an elementary setting than it is in middle school or in high school. Similarly, the speech language therapist role is going to be very different in a school that serves a number of students versus a school that has a smaller caseload. So making sure that administrators really understand your role is essential to helping them give you meaningful feedback on your practice. We also knew that the new evaluation system had to align to new national standards and guidance from the professional organizations about what good evaluation looks like. And then finally, we heard loud and clear that you wanted to eliminate unnecessary paperwork like the long-range plan that you would do and have sit on a shelf, and interviews that were only done for evaluation but didn't really contribute to the professional growth and development of counselors, librarians, and speech language professionals. So we pulled together advisory groups this summer and this fall. Participants included representatives from state organizations, educator preparation providers, human resource directors, district area leads, principals, school level evaluators, and most importantly, practitioners like you, experienced school counselors, speech language pathologists, and library media specialists. Representatives were chosen from all regions of South Carolina, all school sizes, big and small, elementary, middle, high. And then most importantly, we needed to get a mix of people who were on fixed and flexible schedules for librarians and then had a variety of experience in counseling. These groups looked at the survey results, other state and national models, and the South Carolina teaching standards in order to make their recommendations to our group. Those advisory groups help make proposals for what each evaluation could look like and sound like, what artifacts would be required, how evaluation teams would work, who they would comprise, and what the process would look like for educators earlier in their career versus later. To take you more deeply into the changes our advisory groups proposed, I'm very happy to welcome my colleague, Dr. Vicki Troffler.
Thank you, Lilla. So based on the feedback that we received from the survey that Lilla shared with us, our advisory groups landed on 5 major changes. First, they really felt that we needed to be in alignment with our national standards and organizations. They thought that a 4-level rubric would be the most effective way to measure growth. We know it's imperative that the administrative evaluators know your unique roles and responsibilities. We needed to reduce the paperwork by replacing the long-range plan with a tailored year-long guiding document, and we needed to replace the isolated interviews with conferencing and reflection. So one of the important changes that our advisory groups felt that we needed was to change the alignment to national standards or organizations. So as you read the guidelines and evaluation instrument for your area, you will see direct alignment to the national expectations. All 3 special area groups decided that a rubric would be the most effective way to measure their professional practices. A rubric is a much different tool than a checklist of standards to mark met or not met, and the language within each descriptor implies growth. As an example, the SETS for classroom teachers has 4 domains, 23 indicators, 4 level descriptors of practice for planning, environment, and instruction.
+18437527101
Is now
professional
exiting.
is slightly different, using a combination of the teacher and administrator's reflection. This slide will highlight each element of the rubric. The domains are the big buckets. The name of this domain is instruction. The indicators are the specific elements of practice. Here we see that the indicator is standards and objectives. Descriptors describe what performance looks like at each level. And the 4 performance levels are the biggest difference from the APS standards. The 4 performance levels move from unsatisfactory to exemplary. So as you move to the left, the instruction becomes more and more student-centered. The special area rubrics will be constructed with the same premise. We understand that it is imperative that school-level administrators and evaluators understand and acknowledge the unique roles and responsibilities of these 3 areas. We built in several ways to assist administrators throughout this process. First, near the very beginning of the guidelines, we have devoted a section that lists ways for administrators to support you, the school counselor, librarian, and speech-language professional. These suggestions are listed by domains found in the rubric, so that way you can be successful in using the rubric. As you become familiar with your evaluation rubric, you're going to be seeing a column embedded that is called Sources of Evidence. The administrator or evaluator can readily see where they can find evidence to match every indicator on the rubric. For example, some of the sources of evidence may be correlated pre- or post-conference questions, observations, IEP documents, or the school counselor plan. We're providing the administrators and evaluators with required questions to ask during the pre- and post-observation conferences. These questions were developed by our advisory groups, and they align to the indicators on the rubric. And of course, the administrator or the evaluator may ask additional questions if they need clarification or more information. And then finally, as we plan the training that will be available this summer, administrators and evaluators will hear firsthand from South Carolina counselors, librarians, and speech-language professionals in video clips. The participants will share their various roles and responsibilities that administrators may not readily see during their scheduled observations with students. We really feel that these new strategies will help to bridge the gap of knowledge and understanding between the administrators and the practitioners. Instead of requiring a long-range plan during the formative and summative evaluations, we wanted to tailor meaningful documents to assist each group in guiding them throughout a successful year. This is to reduce the planning documents that practitioners and the evaluators said that were unnecessary and just for show. These documents are working documents. They may be adjusted throughout the school year as needed and will be revisited by the practitioner and the evaluator 3 times during the school year. During the approval conference, specifically for the school counselor and the school librarian, during the preliminary evaluation conference, and during the final evaluation conference. The reflections and interviews for the special areas are no longer isolated. They are embedded in the pre and post conferences, which provide deep, meaningful conversations between the evaluator and the practitioner. This engaging dialogue allows you to be reflective of your own professional practices. And finally, all educators will zoom in on one area of reinforcement and one area of refinement following each observation. So what will the changes look like for each area? How will the revised evaluation process compared to the SCTS 4.0 used with the classroom teachers? The advisory group saw many strengths of the 4.0 rubric and process and wanted to align their evaluation to that of the classroom teachers while also incorporating the unique expectations of their specific roles and responsibilities. So we'll take a closer look at these four main components for each of the special areas. We'll look at an overview of the rubric, how the observations help to provide evidence of professional practice, whether your area will be using a professional growth and development goal or an SLO, and the appropriate weightings for each domain within your rubric. Within the speech language rubric, there are four domains. They are planning, instruction, collaboration, and professionalism. Within those domains are 18 indicators and descriptors that list the specific behaviors of professional practice. I've already shared with you the four domains of the SCTS 4.0 for classroom teachers. The weightings determine what percentage of each domain counts toward the overall final score. The weightings for classroom teacher domains are planning is 20%, instruction is 50%, environment is 20%, and professionalism is 10%. The weightings for the speech language rubric are planning is 25%, instruction is 40%, collaboration is 10%, and professionalism is 25%. If you would like to preview the draft of the rubric descriptors at the proficient level, you can access it by following this link and scrolling down to your area. We will continue to receive your feedback on this section of the rubric as we look to build the descriptors for the other three performance levels. We'll be using the term speech language professionals, and this will include therapists and pathologists. It is vital that the speech language professionals receive timely, meaningful, and actionable feedback on their professional practices. There'll be several ways that you'll receive feedback from your evaluator. First, during formative and summative years, you'll receive feedback within the rubric based on observations of scheduled IEP meetings and observations of therapy sessions. During the GBE years, you'll receive informal feedback. That means that during the GBE years, you'll complete a professional growth and development goal, as you have been doing, and that goal will indicate how student growth is impacted. Remember that the completion and implementation of the students' IEPs and their evaluations will take the place of the formal long-range plan. The observation process varies for each contract level based on the needs of the practitioners for each of the special areas. The speech language professionals will receive feedback from observations of an IEP meeting and of a therapy session. At the induction level and the continuing formative level, parts of the evaluation can be waived during the spring semester. Also, please note that at the state level, a continuing formative evaluation is not required if you have and if you maintain your Certificate of Clinical Competence, your CCCs. Finally, when you are not being evaluated formatively or summatively, you would complete a professional growth and development plan for the goals-based evaluation. In general, all educators have announced observations that would include a pre-conference and a post-conference with areas of
Sheila Anabana.
and unannounced
Is now joining.
that would also include post-observation conferences with areas of refinement and reinforcement. This area of refinement becomes your professional goal to fine-tune your professional practice in that identified area. Now let's take a look at the school counselor rubric and evaluation process. The school counselor rubric has 4 domains of planning, program management, direct and indirect services, and professionalism. Within these domains, you will have 12 indicators and descriptors that give you specific behaviors of professional practice. As a reminder, note that the domain percentages for the SETS 4.0 for classroom teachers are: planning is 20%, instruction is 50%, environment is 20%, and professionalism is 10%. The school counselor weightings are: planning will be 15%, program management is 15%, direct and indirect services 50%, and professionalism 20%. Finally, if you would like to preview the draft of the rubric descriptors at the proficient level, you may do so by following this link and then scrolling down to your area. We welcome your feedback as we continue to build the rest of the rubric. In our advisory group meetings, the school counselors wanted to be able to reflect on their impact on student growth each year. So we propose that the school counselor will complete a student growth goal every year. The student growth goal combines the purposes of the GBE and the SLO. The goal can be academic or behavioral, and it can focus on a specific group or a counseling need. In addition, the school counselor will receive feedback on the school counselor plan and annual calendar during the formative and summative evaluation years. Remember, the observation process varies for each contract level based on the needs of the practitioners for each special area. For school counselors during the continuing formative evaluation, parts of the evaluation can be weighed for the spring semester if they're successful in the fall. Please note that if you're undergoing a continuing formative evaluation, this does not recertify you. Your recertification requirements will remain the same as they are now. This just indicates which year you'll be evaluated at the continuing formative level. During years that you're not formatively or summatively evaluated, you will be informally evaluated using the student growth goal during your continuing GBE years. Remember, all observations are either announced and unannounced, but for the school counselors, all observations will be announced, and they will also include a pre-conference and a post-conference with an area of refinement and an area of reinforcement. Now let's take a look at the school librarian's rubric and process. Again, there are 4 domains within the school librarian rubric, and the areas are instruction, environment, library services and management, and professionalism. Within the domains are 21 indicators and descriptors that provide specific behaviors for professional practice. The weightings for the domains that make up the overall score are: instruction is 30%, environment is 20%, library services and management is 40%, and professionalism is 10%. If you would like to preview the draft of the rubric descriptors at the proficient level, you can access it by going to this link, scroll down to your area, and we will continue to receive feedback on this section of the rubric as we look to build the descriptors for the other 3 performance levels. As a school librarian, you'll receive feedback on your school librarian plan during the years you are evaluated with the rubric in formative and summative years. Remember, this is a meaningful document, and it will take the place of the formal long-range plan. Instead of an SLO, the school librarian will complete a professional growth and development goal during the goals-based evaluation years. And you should indicate how your goal will impact student growth. Again, the observation process varies for each contract level based on the needs of the practitioners for each special area. For school librarians, during the continuing formative evaluations, parts of the evaluation can be waived for the spring semester if they're successful in the fall. Please note again, if you're undergoing the continuing formative evaluation, this does not recertify you. Your recertification requirements will remain the same as they are now. This just indicates which year you'll be evaluated at the continuing formative level. During the years that you are not formatively or summatively evaluated, you'll be informally evaluated using the professional growth and development plan during your continuing GBE years. Again, for the educators here, the announced observations will include a pre-conference and post-conference with areas of refinement and reinforcement, and your unannounced observations will include a post-conference with areas of refinement and reinforcement. And now Lila will walk us through our next steps. And as Lila's coming aboard, if you have any questions, please continue to type them in our chat as we can answer your questions and address any concerns that you may have or any feedback. Don't wait on the survey that you'll be getting or looking at the draft. If you have feedback for us now on any of these specific components, please feel free to give that to us in the chat room at this time.
We're eager to get to the portion of the day where we field questions from the chat box, but we also want to make sure that we emphasize that we need your feedback in survey form. None of these changes are made lightly, and they've all come with a lot of stakeholder feedback already. But we really need your voices and your help to ensure that evaluations for school support personnel are meaningful, thoughtful, and aligned to your needs. That means the questions that are lingering in your head are probably shared by your colleagues. So please take the time to go to https://tinyurl.com/SAAdept20 and share your feedback. And we'll keep this survey link up on the screen as we move through with the next slides in the presentation. But really, your thoughts on what you've heard today will be really, really helpful for us. And we deeply appreciate you taking time after school to come and listen to these. So we'll go through a few next steps, what you can do to support these changes and what you can do to offer feedback. And then we'll go ahead and take some questions. We do know that right now there's an issue with the rubric link and the permissions, and we'll get those shared to you just as soon as possible. That's what I was out of the room doing when everyone was looking around. So I'll get those shared. That's my bad, but we'll make sure that those are shared by the end of the webinar. And there's the link again to those rubric descriptors. They're just at tinyurl.com/WBLTO3M. So what can you do to support these changes? Here are 4 quick ideas, and we'd appreciate if you have others, feel free to type those into the chat box as well. First of all, you can give feedback going to that survey link that we just provided to you. Second, if you can reflect and connect, think about what those rubric indicators look like and sound like in your context, because we already know that they're going to look different in elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, in small schools and big schools, and depending on your caseload and your workload. We also encourage you to share what you've learned today with your colleagues. This presentation will be up on our website at ed.sc.gov. If you click on Educators and Effectiveness in that top left-hand box, probably by the end of the week. So encourage your colleagues to check this out too, and then follow that same feedback survey link to let us know what they think. We'd love for you to be models, thinking about how you want to grow in your own professional practice and how this process could be beneficial for you and your colleagues. And then finally,
Is now joining.
We encourage you to be leaders and to be part of this change in your context. As we rolled out new teacher evaluations, the biggest difference in schools where teachers found the process meaningful and schools where teachers didn't was whether a teacher was involved in leading the change and learning about the new instrument. So we encourage you to share what you've learned, let your school and district leadership team know you're ready to help, to think of ways you can make this process meaningful in your context. We know we only write guidelines at the state level, and they can be the prettiest possible thing coming out, but the real work is how it's implemented, and if it's implemented with a growth and development mindset, or a mindset that this is just another box to check. We encourage you to stay connected with us by heading to our website at ed.sc.gov. If you click on that bottom link to the slides, that's where the slides will live once we get them posted online. We just have to wait for approval for accessibility to make sure that those can be read by a screen reader. So that link is available to you as well. I'm going to scroll back a slide just so we make sure that that survey link is projected for us, and then we are happy to field questions from you. So keep them coming in the chat. I'll mute my mic for now, and we'll come on the mic and answer a few of them.